Have you ever wondered why some Toyota owners are cruising past 300,000 miles while others are dealing with major engine problems before they even hit 150,000? The difference isn't luck, and it's definitely not the car itself. It's what these smart owners do that most people completely ignore. I'm talking about simple maintenance habits that can literally transform your engine from sluggish and worn out to running like it just rolled off the factory floor. Here's the thing that blew my mind when I first learned it. Your Toyota's engine is basically a sophisticated machine with hundreds of moving parts, all working together in perfect harmony. But just like any machine, it needs the right care at the right time. Miss these critical steps and you're looking at expensive repairs that could have been avoided with just a few minutes of attention each month. Now, before we dive into these game-changing tips, do me a huge favor and hit that like button if you're ready to give your Toyota the care it deserves. And if you know someone who drives a Camry, Corolla, RAV4, or any Toyota for that matter, share this video with them. Post it in those Toyota Facebook groups you're part of because, trust me, these tips can save thousands of dollars in repair bills. Also, I'm genuinely curious about your ride, so drop a comment below and tell me what year, model, and mileage your Toyota has. I read every single comment and love hearing from fellow Toyota enthusiasts. Let's start with something that sounds basic but is absolutely critical for your engine's health. Most people think changing engine oil is enough, but here's what separates the pros from the amateurs. When you change your oil, you're only doing half the job if you're not replacing the oil filter at the same time. Think about it this way. You wouldn't pour fresh water through a dirty sponge and expect it to come out clean, would you? Your oil filter is working overtime every time you drive. It's catching metal particles, dirt, carbon deposits, and all kinds of microscopic debris that would otherwise circulate through your engine like sandpaper. When that filter gets clogged, which happens faster than most people realize, all that contamination starts flowing right back through your engine's most delicate parts. The pistons, valves, and bearings that need smooth lubrication are instead getting a constant bath of abrasive particles. Here's what most Toyota owners don't know about oil change intervals. The manual might say you can go 10,000 miles between changes, but that's under perfect conditions. We're talking about highway driving in moderate temperatures with high-quality synthetic oil. Real-world driving is different. Stop-and-go traffic, short trips where your engine never fully warms up, extreme hot or cold weather, dusty conditions. All of these factors mean your oil is working harder and breaking down faster. The sweet spot for most Toyota engines is every 5,000 to 6,000 miles or every 6 months, whichever comes first. And here's a pro tip that can save you hundreds of dollars. When you're checking your oil level, don't just look at how much is in there. Look at the color and consistency. Fresh oil has a honey-like amber color and flows smoothly. Old oil turns dark brown or black and might have a gritty texture. If you see any metallic sparkles in there, that's your engine telling you it's time for immediate attention. Now let's talk about something that most people completely overlook until it's too late. Your throttle body controls how much air enters your engine, and when it gets dirty, your entire driving experience suffers. Imagine trying to breathe through a straw that's partially blocked. That's essentially what your engine is dealing with when the throttle body gets caked with carbon deposits and oil residue. The symptoms start subtle but get worse over time. You might notice your Toyota feels sluggish when you press the gas pedal. Maybe it jerks or hesitates during acceleration, or perhaps you've been hitting the gas station more often because your fuel economy has mysteriously gotten worse. Some owners even experience rough idling at stoplights or that annoying check engine light that seems to come on for no reason. Here's the good news about throttle body cleaning. It's one of those maintenance tasks that delivers immediate, noticeable results. The process involves removing the throttle body, which is usually held in place by a few bolts, and carefully cleaning the butterfly valve and surrounding areas with the right cleaning solution. You have to be gentle because the internal components are precisely calibrated, but the difference in how your engine responds afterward is remarkable. What really gets me excited about sharing this information is how much money you can save by learning these techniques. A shop might charge you $400 or more for throttle body service, but with some basic tools and patience, you can do it yourself for about $20 in cleaning supplies. The key is using the right products and taking your time to do it properly. Speaking of saving money and improving performance, let's dive into the fluid systems that keep your Toyota running smoothly. Engine oil gets all the attention, but your car actually depends on several different fluids working together like a well-orchestrated team. Neglect any one of these and the whole system starts to break down. Coolant is probably the most underestimated fluid in your entire vehicle. It's not just about preventing your engine from overheating on hot summer days. Modern coolant is actually a sophisticated chemical mixture that prevents corrosion, lubricates water pump seals, and protects against freezing in winter conditions. But here's what most people don't realize. Over time, coolant becomes acidic and starts attacking the very components it's supposed to protect. The recommended replacement interval for Toyota coolant is every 50,000 miles or 5 years, but I've seen engines with premature water pump failures and head gasket issues because owners waited too long. When coolant turns acidic, it eats away at rubber seals and gaskets, and it can even cause pitting in aluminum engine components. The repair bills for these problems can easily run into thousands of dollars, while a coolant flush costs less than $150. Here's how to check your coolant properly. First, and this is crucial, only check it when the engine is completely cool. Never remove the radiator cap or coolant reservoir cap when the engine is hot, because you could get seriously burned by pressurized steam. Look for the clear plastic overflow tank near the radiator, and check that the coolant level is between the minimum and maximum lines. The coolant should be clear or have a slight tint, depending on your Toyota's specific type. If it looks rusty, murky, or has floating particles, it's time for a complete system flush. If you're enjoying this information and finding it helpful, go ahead and give this video a like. It really helps me reach more Toyota owners who could benefit from these tips, and I genuinely appreciate the support from viewers like you who care about keeping their vehicles in top condition. Transmission fluid is another critical component that can make the difference between smooth shifting and costly repairs. Whether you have a manual, automatic, or CVT transmission, the fluid inside is doing multiple jobs simultaneously. It lubricates moving parts, provides hydraulic pressure for shifting, and helps dissipate heat generated by all that mechanical action. The tricky thing about transmission fluid is that problems often develop gradually. You might start noticing slightly rougher shifts, or maybe the transmission hesitates for a split second when changing gears. Some owners report hearing unusual whining or humming noises, especially during acceleration. By the time these symptoms become obvious, internal wear has already begun, and delaying service will only make things worse. For manual transmissions, the fluid change interval is typically every 30,000 to 50,000 miles, while automatics can often go 60,000 to 80,000 miles between services. But here's where it gets interesting. The type of driving you do makes a huge difference in how often you should service your transmission. If you're doing a lot of towing, driving in stop-and-go traffic, or dealing with mountainous terrain, that fluid is working much harder and breaking down faster. When you check transmission fluid, timing matters. Most automatics need to be checked with the engine running and the transmission warm, while manual transmissions are usually checked with the engine off. The fluid should have a bright red color and a slightly sweet smell. If it looks dark brown or black, or if it smells burnt, you're looking at fluid that's lost its protective properties and needs immediate attention. Here's a maintenance step that can literally add years to your engine's life, but it's so simple that most people completely overlook it. The PCV valve, which stands for positive crankcase ventilation, is this tiny component that helps your engine breathe properly. Think of it as your engine's exhale system, allowing built-up pressure and harmful gases to escape instead of building up inside. When the PCV valve gets clogged or stops working correctly, several problems start developing simultaneously. You might notice your engine idling roughly at traffic lights, or maybe it's burning through oil faster than usual. Some owners experience a noticeable loss of power, especially when climbing hills or accelerating onto highways. The really scary part is that a faulty PCV valve can lead to sludge buildup throughout your engine, which is like having clogged arteries in your body. The brilliant thing about PCV valve maintenance is how easy and inexpensive it is. Every 50,000 miles, simply locate the valve, which is usually connected to a rubber hose, and give it a quick test. Pull it out and shake it. If you hear it rattle, the internal mechanism is still working. If it's silent, the valve is stuck and needs replacement. For most Toyota models like the Camry, Corolla, and RAV4, this is literally a 5-minute job that costs under $10 but can prevent thousands in engine damage. Now, let's talk about spark plugs, because these little components pack a serious punch when it comes to engine performance. Every time you turn your key, the spark plugs create the precise electrical spark that ignites the fuel mixture in each cylinder. When they start wearing out, your entire engine suffers the consequences. The symptoms of worn spark plugs creep up gradually, which is why many owners don't realize there's a problem until it becomes serious. You might notice your Toyota takes an extra second or two to start in the morning, or maybe it feels sluggish during acceleration. Fuel economy often drops noticeably, and some engines develop a rough idle or even start misfiring under load. Here's what makes modern Toyota spark plugs special. Many newer models use iridium plugs that can last up to 100,000 miles, which is incredible compared to the old copper plugs that needed replacement every 30,000 miles. But even these long-life plugs eventually wear out, and when they do, the gap between the electrodes becomes too wide for efficient sparking. If you're thinking about tackling spark plug replacement yourself, it's actually more straightforward than most people imagine. The key is working on one cylinder at a time to avoid mixing up the firing order and using the correct torque specification when installing the new plugs. Too loose and they might vibrate out or allow compression to leak. Too tight and you risk damaging the threads in the aluminum cylinder head. Before we go any further, I want to take a quick moment to say thanks to everyone who's been liking and sharing these videos. If you've learned something useful so far, hit that subscribe button because I've got tons more Toyota maintenance tips coming your way. And seriously, if you know someone with a Highlander, Tacoma, or Prius, send them this video. These tips work for every Toyota engine out there. There's an optional maintenance step that can make a noticeable difference in how your engine performs, especially if you've been dealing with rough idling or decreased fuel economy. The mass airflow sensor, or MAF sensor, measures exactly how much air is entering your engine so the computer can calculate the perfect fuel mixture. When this sensor gets dirty, which happens gradually over time, it starts sending incorrect readings to the engine computer. The result is an improper air-fuel mixture that can cause sluggish performance, increased fuel consumption, or even engine misfires. The good news is that cleaning the MAF sensor is a relatively simple procedure that can restore proper engine operation. The process involves carefully removing the sensor, which is usually located between the air filter and throttle body, and spraying it with a specialized MAF sensor cleaner. The critical part is using the right cleaning product because regular cleaners can damage the delicate sensing elements. You also need to let it air dry completely before reinstalling it, which takes about an hour. Let's shift gears and talk about the rubber components under your hood that keep everything connected and functioning properly. Belts and hoses might not seem as important as engine oil or spark plugs, but when they fail, they can leave you stranded or cause serious engine damage. The serpentine belt is particularly critical because it drives multiple systems simultaneously. Your alternator, power steering, air conditioning, and sometimes even the water pump all depend on this single belt. When you open your hood and see what looks like a tangled mess of rubber and hoses, don't be intimidated. These components are actually pretty straightforward to inspect and maintain. Look for cracks, splits, or shiny glazed areas on belts, which indicate wear and potential failure. Hoses should feel flexible, not hard and brittle. Check for bulging areas, which suggest internal deterioration, and look around all the connections for signs of leaks or seepage. Many Toyota models use serpentine belts that power multiple systems, so if that belt fails, you lose several critical functions at once. The timing belt, where applicable, is even more critical because if it breaks, you're looking at potential internal engine damage. Some Toyota engines are interference engines, meaning the pistons and valves occupy the same space at different times. If the timing belt snaps, these components can collide and cause thousands of dollars in damage. Here's something that separates long-lasting Toyota engines from those that need major repairs. The owners who hit 300,000 miles and beyond don't just focus on what's under the hood. They pay attention to how they drive and treat their vehicle as a precision machine that responds to careful handling. One of the biggest factors in engine longevity is how you handle the break-in period if you have a new Toyota. During the first 1,000 miles, the internal components are still settling into their final positions and wear patterns. Driving aggressively during this critical period can affect engine performance and durability for the entire life of the vehicle. The smart approach is keeping RPMs moderate, avoiding sustained high speeds, and varying your driving conditions between city and highway use. This allows the piston rings to seat properly and helps establish optimal wear patterns throughout the engine. Toyota engines that receive proper break-in treatment often run stronger and last longer than those that were driven hard from day one. Cold weather driving presents another opportunity to extend engine life through proper technique. Many owners make the mistake of letting their car idle for 10 or 15 minutes to warm up, but modern Toyota engines actually warm up more efficiently when driven gently. Start the engine, wait about 30 seconds for oil to circulate, then drive normally while keeping RPMs low until the engine reaches operating temperature. This approach gets all the components warmed up together rather than just the engine block, and it reduces the total warm-up time significantly. Extended idling actually increases engine wear because the cylinders don't reach optimal temperature, which can lead to fuel dilution in the oil and incomplete combustion. Your driving habits on the highway make a significant difference in engine longevity as well. High speeds force your engine to work much harder than most people realize. At 70 miles per hour, your engine is producing nearly twice the power compared to cruising at 55 miles per hour. That extra work translates to more heat, more fuel consumption, and accelerated wear on internal components. The reality is that most Toyota owners could extend their engine's life significantly just by adjusting their driving style. Smooth acceleration and gradual braking put less stress on engine mounts, reduce wear on internal components, and help maintain optimal operating temperatures throughout the drive. Another critical factor that many overlook is vehicle loading. Your engine wasn't designed to constantly haul around extra weight, yet I see so many Toyotas loaded down with sports equipment, tools, or random items that never get removed from the trunk. Every extra pound means your engine has to work harder during acceleration and maintain higher power output during highway driving. Before towing anything with your Toyota, always check the owner's manual for maximum towing capacity. Exceeding these limits doesn't just stress the engine. It affects the transmission, cooling system, and even the electrical charging system. A Corolla might handle daily commuting beautifully, but asking it to tow a heavy trailer is setting yourself up for premature component failure. Here's where most Toyota owners miss a huge opportunity to prevent problems before they become expensive repairs. Your engine is constantly communicating with you through sounds, smells, and dashboard warnings. Learning to recognize these early warning signs can literally save you thousands of dollars and prevent roadside breakdowns. The difference between a Toyota that barely makes it to 150,000 miles and one that cruises past 300,000 comes down to these simple maintenance habits we've covered today. Regular oil and filter changes, keeping your fluids fresh, maintaining clean sensors, and paying attention to your driving style. These aren't complicated procedures, but they're the foundation of engine longevity. If these tips help your Toyota run smoother and last longer, smash that subscribe button for more money-saving maintenance advice that keeps your ride running like new.